In the words of Sir Raymond Priestley, for scientific discovery, give me Scott. For speed and efficiency of travel, give me Amundsen. But when disaster strikes and all hope is gone, get down on your knees and pray for Shackleton. The Endurance, Shackleton's legendary Antarctic expedition, is a thrilling recount of one of the last great adventures in the heroic age of exploration, perhaps the greatest of them all. I love travel and adventure travel, and have been to Antarctica just over 70 times as a staff member on board various ships, mostly with Silver Sea on board one of our expedition vessels. In fact, it was on my very first expedition trip 22 years ago that I traveled to the Falklands, South Georgia, and Antarctica and read this incredible book by author Caroline Alexander. It tells the story of survival in Antarctica by Ernest Shackleton and his crew, who had to survive in an inhospitable environment after their ship, the Endurance, was swallowed by the ice. It is a thrilling story full of adventures in which every human emotion surfaces, and in this case, even hope. In August 1914, days before the outbreak of the First World War, explorer Ernest Shackleton and a crew of 27 set sail for the South Atlantic in pursuit of the last unclaimed prize in the history of exploration, the first crossing on foot of the Antarctic continent. Weaving a treacherous path through the freezing Weddell Sea, they had come within 85 miles of their destination when their ship Endurance was trapped in fast in the pack ice. Soon the ship was crushed like matchwood, leaving the crew stranded on the floes. Alexander quotes Shackleton giving a prophetic warning to the ship's skipper as he navigated worsening conditions. Shackleton said, "What the ice gets, the ice keeps." The book is Alexander's riveting account of this astonishing and harrowing story, one filled with impressive examples of leadership, ingenuity, misery, and in the end, cast endurance, physical and mental. Shackleton said, "Optimism is true moral courage." And while that might sound a bit grandiose to some ears, his dark belief in it is probably what kept the crew alive. And he didn't just spout it, he truly lived it. He was constantly monitoring the spirits of the men and organizing activities for entertainment, camaraderie, and comfort, relatively speaking, of course, even serving their meals in their tents after a particularly bad event. Their ordeal would last for 20 months, and they would make 2 near-fatal attempts to escape by open boat before their final rescue. Drawing on previously unavailable sources, Caroline Alexander gives us a riveting account of one of history's greatest epics of survival. She also presents an astonishing work of Frank Hurley, the Australian photographer whose visual record of the adventure has never before been published so comprehensively. Together, text and image recreate the terrible beauty of Antarctica, the awful destruction of the ship Endurance. It also recounts the crew's heroic daily struggle to stay alive, a miracle achieved largely because of Shackleton's inspiring leadership. The summation of the 800-mile journey by open boat from Elephant Island to South Georgia, amongst battered and frigid gale-force storms manned only by Shackleton and 2 others in a desperate attempt to seek help, best captures the heart of this story. Throughout their 17-day ordeal in an open boat, the men maintained a ship routine, structure of command, and a schedule of watches. They had been mindful of their seamanship under the most severe circumstances a sailor would ever face. They had not merely endured, they had exhibited the grace of expertise under ungodly pressure. There has been many accounts of this expedition, with many books written about it. But for me, Caroline Alexander does this story justice with her marvelous writing. Her descriptions of landscapes, weather, the sound of ice, the cracking and the buckling ice sheets and the bursting of the ship's planks is as vivid as any movie. She provides insightful portraits of the crew, their virtues, failings, their devoted friendships, and simmering rivalries and resentments. I recommend this book to all lovers of survival, adventure, and overcoming stories where reality sometimes is even superior than fiction. And in the words of Sir Ernest Shackleton, let's always remember, difficulties are just things to overcome.